Before it became the most notorious holiday home in American pop culture, it was once marketed as a luxury motorhome built for smooth cross-country travel. Hard to believe, right? Yet decades later, Eddie's battered 1973 Condor II RV from Christmas Vacation has outlived its manufacturer, survived Hollywood chaos, and somehow evolved into a rolling shrine of holiday nostalgia. But beneath its cracked paint and fake rust lies a trail of mysteries that most viewers never notice. Why do collectors still argue about its actual model year? What made the filmmakers choose a motorhome from a company that went bankrupt years earlier? And how did a single scene involving a waste hose nearly change Eddie's entire role in the movie? Today, we peel back every flaking layer of metal, myth, and movie magic to uncover the truth behind the strangest RV ever put on screen. This is the Untold File. These are the 20 weirdest secrets Hollywood never expected anyone to investigate. Fact 20. The Forgotten Luxury. Before it became the rolling disaster we all remember, the Condor II was never meant to be a joke. In the early 1970s, this motorhome sat proudly in glossy brochures, advertised as a premium, comfort-focused machine built for America's new era of long-distance family travel. It came with dual AC units, plush interiors, and amenities that, for its time, bordered on futuristic. But luxury is a fragile thing, and somewhere between the economic turbulence of the decade and the collapse of its manufacturer, the Condor II slipped through the cracks of history. What was once a polished, high-end motorhome quietly faded into the background, outperformed, outsold, and eventually forgotten. Ironically, it took a fictional troublemaker named Eddie and a holiday comedy to drag this once proud RV back into the spotlight. Audiences didn't see a luxury motorhome. They saw a symbol of chaos, misfortune, and the kind of offbeat charm only Christmas Vacation could deliver. The film didn't just revive the Condor II, it transformed it. The forgotten luxury had finally returned, but in the most unexpected form imaginable. Fact 19. The Model Year Mystery. If you ask 10 collectors what year Eddie's RV actually is, you'll get 12 different answers. The Condor II has become the automotive version of a folklore dispute. Some registries insist it's a 1972, while others swear the production used a 1973 build. Even studio documents from Christmas Vacation don't resolve the issue clearly. The confusion comes from the early 70s production overlap. Condor often carried leftover components from previous years, and dealers sometimes titled units based on shipping dates instead of manufacturing dates. A Condor II built in late 72 could easily be sold and registered as a 73 without anyone batting an eye. Over time, the movie itself cemented 1973 into pop culture, even though the mechanical clues point both ways. The chassis code, trim layout, and OEM features blur the line so thoroughly that the argument has kept collectors debating for more than 3 decades. It isn't just a model year problem. It's a tiny automotive mystery that refuses to die. Fact 18. A corpse of a company. When Eddie rolled into the Griswold driveway, his RV wasn't just a relic, it was a ghost. Condor Motorhomes had already been dead for nearly a decade by the time the movie began filming. The company folded quietly in the late 1970s, leaving behind only scattered advertisements, service manuals, and a handful of surviving motorhomes scattered across America. Choosing a vehicle from a defunct manufacturer wasn't common for prop departments. Replacement parts become a nightmare, and mechanical reliability can't be guaranteed. But ironically, that abandoned quality was exactly what made the Condor II perfect for Eddie's world. It looked like something that belonged to a man whose luck ran dry long before Christmas ever came. The filmmakers didn't need to exaggerate the aura of decay. The RV carried it naturally. A brand that once tried to compete with Winnebago ended up remembered mainly through a single movie character. In a strange twist of fate, Hollywood didn't just use a dead brand, it resurrected it. Fact 17. The underbelly monster, Ford P-Series. Most moviegoers assume Eddie's RV was built on some gentle, family-friendly motorhome frame. In reality, the Condor II rode on something far more intimidating, the Ford P-Series 500, a medium-duty commercial truck platform built for delivery fleets and industrial hauling. This chassis was never designed for cozy vacations or smooth campground cruising. It was built to survive potholes, overloading, and daily abuse. Exactly the kind of engineering you'd expect from vehicles delivering packages across American cities. That meant thick steel, stiff suspension, and the ride quality of a half-awake rhinoceros stomping across asphalt. For Hollywood, this tank-like build had an unexpected benefit. The RV could take beatings, long hours of driving, and multiple takes without falling apart. For the actors, however, it meant every vibration, every bump, every shudder was brutally real. In short, Eddie wasn't driving a motorhome. He was piloting a trimmed-down truck disguised as a living room. Fact 16, engine of excess. Beneath the RV's tired, weather-beaten exterior lies an engine that tells a very different story. Ford's 390 cubic inch FEV E8, a massive 6.4-liter block built during an era when fuel economy was barely an afterthought. This wasn't a performance engine. It was a brute-force power plant designed to move heavy loads, whether that meant cargo, equipment, or in this case, Eddie's entire life jammed inside one RV. The 390 produced enough torque to yank the Condor II up long grades, but at a price. Gas mileage frequently dipped into the single digits, and the engine sound wasn't the heroic rumble of muscle cars from the same era. It was more like a weary beast groaning under the weight of its own existence. For the film crew, the V8's durability was a blessing. It kept the RV alive through long shooting days. For Eddie's fictional wallet, let's just say the man wasn't paying for premium unleaded. Fact 15, Hollywood rust magic. The battered shell of Eddie's RV might look like decades of neglect, but in reality, it was the product of carefully engineered movie magic. The Condor II used in Christmas Vacation was in far better condition than audiences assume. The rust, the peeling paint, the fake dents, none of it came from real wear. Hollywood's art department applied layer after layer of aging effects to transform a functioning motorhome into a rolling catastrophe. They used oxidized pigments, textured sprays, hand-brush streaks, and even controlled burn patterns to mimic metal fatigue. Every patch of decay was intentional. Even the wooden trim, which appears seconds from falling off, had been solidly secured beneath the cosmetic distressing. The goal was simple. The RV needed to scream, "Eddie lives here," at first glance. It had to look like a home held together by hope, duct tape, and questionable decisions. And ironically, the more fake damage they added, the more authentic it felt. Fact 14. The scene that changed the script. There's a reason the shitter was full as betont. Moment became one of the most quoted lines in holiday movie history, but it almost didn't exist. Early versions of the script placed Eddie's RV in the background as a visual gag rather than a narrative device. The infamous waist-dumping scene was originally considered too crude and too risky for a family-focused Christmas comedy. But when test audiences saw an early cut of the film, something unexpected happened. They loved Eddie. His chaotic sincerity stole the show, and the RV suddenly needed a bigger role. The controversial scene wasn't just kept, it was expanded. The hose, the bathrobe, the beer can, the stunned neighbors. Every detail was added to heighten Eddie's bizarre charm. That single moment reshaped the film's comedic identity. It elevated the RV from a mere prop to a character with its own punchline. Without that scene, Eddie's presence might have faded into the background. Instead, it became the heartbeat of the movie's most chaotic energy. Fact 13. A nomad's relic, surviving to this day. Most movie props vanish after filming, sold, scrapped, or lost in dusty warehouses. But Eddie's Condor II refused to follow that path. Instead, It began a second life as a traveling artifact of American cinema. After production wrapped, the RV passed through private hands and eventually found its way into exhibitions, car shows, and pop culture events across the country. At Castle Knoll in Ohio, visitors lined up just to stand beside it. At Atlanta Motorama, it drew crowds the way rare muscle cars usually do. Fans didn't simply admire it, they reacted to it, laughed with it, remembered their childhoods through it. What made it special wasn't pristine restoration, it was authenticity. The dents, the fake rust, the odd angles of the window trim. They were exactly as seen on screen. A snapshot of 1980s Hollywood preserved in metal and fiberglass. The RV didn't just survive time, it outlived expectations and became a pilgrimage stop for Christmas vacation fans nationwide. Fact 12. A cult of replicas. You'd expect car enthusiasts to replicate legendary muscle machines or rare classics. But Eddie's RV, that's a different level of dedication. Across the United States, a small but passionate community has spent years hunting down old Condor IIs or even similar 70s motorhomes to transform them into screen-accurate replicas. These builders study every frame of the movie. They match the paint fade, the rust streaks, the wood panel striping, and even the crooked way certain trim pieces were attached. Some go as far as recreating props inside. The cluttered cabinets, outdated upholstery patterns, the lived-in chaos that defined Eddie's world. One replica in Illinois took nearly 3 years to complete and now appears at holiday parades, photo events, and themed parties. Another owner rents his version out for Christmas displays. For most fans, the RV is a joke. For these enthusiasts, it's a craft, a tribute, and a piece of cultural Americana worth resurrecting bolt by bolt. Fact 11. The fictional backstory. In the movie, Eddie casually explains that the RV isn't really his. He borrowed it from a buddy who took the house. It sounds like the kind of messy trade only Eddie's world could produce. But here's the twist. That entire story was invented purely as a character joke. There was no buddy, no divorce settlement involving an RV swap, no tragic barter gone wrong. The writers crafted that throwaway line to sum up Eddie's life in a single punch. Unlucky, unfiltered, and forever entangled in problems that don't technically belong to him. What they didn't expect was that audiences would latch onto it so completely that the line became part of Christmas vacation mythology. Fans quote it at holiday parties. Memes reference it. People joke about taking the RV in the divorce. The fictional backstory became more famous than many actual plot points in the movie. Eddie didn't just bring chaos. He brought a line of dialogue that rewrote the RV's identity forever. Fact 10. Heavier than modern RVs. Modern RVs may look big, but Eddie's Condor II would make most of them feel lightweight. Thanks to its commercial-grade Ford P-Series chassis and steel-heavy construction, the RV carried a gross vehicle weight that would raise eyebrows even by today's standards. This wasn't a gentle cruiser. It was more like a stubborn freight animal dragging its own skeleton across America. The consequences were immediate. Sluggish acceleration, brake distances long enough to write a postcard, and fuel consumption that could make an oil executive smile. Driving it required patience, planning, and a good sense of humor. For the film crew, this weight created logistical nightmares. Streets had to be scouted carefully. Some driveways weren't strong enough. Turning the RV around wasn't a simple maneuver. It was an event. Yet the heft also made it perfect for the movie's physical comedy. Its awkward bulk mirrored Eddie's chaotic presence, amplifying the humor in every scene. Heavy? Yes. Iconic because of that weight? Absolutely. Fact 9. A company lost to history. Even during its best years, Condor Motorhomes was never a titan of the RV industry. It operated more like a boutique builder, small production runs, limited advertising, and a catalog that changed quietly from year to year. Compared to giants like Winnebago or Airstream, Condor existed in the margins, known only to a niche crowd who appreciated unconventional engineering. When the company folded in the late 70s, it didn't leave behind glossy archives or neatly preserved records. Instead, it vanished into a fog of incomplete paperwork, scattered titles, and a few fading brochures stored in private collections. That gap in documentation is why collectors today struggle to verify model years, floor plans, and factory options. The Condor II isn't just rare, it's historically slippery. A relic whose manufacturer evaporated without a trace, leaving the RV community to piece together its identity like detectives sifting through half-burned files. The company may be forgotten, but the RV carrying its name became immortal through pure cinematic luck. Fact 8. That massive windshield. One of the most striking features of the Condor II is the windshield, a massive panoramic slab of glass that looks more like it belongs on a tour bus than a 1970s motorhome. At the time, it was considered bold engineering, offering drivers an almost theatrical view of the road ahead. But this oversized windshield came with drawbacks. Replacement glass was expensive, rare, and notoriously fragile. Today, finding an original windshield is nearly impossible. Many replica builders have to commission custom-molded replacements, and the cost often exceeds what some people paid for entire used RVs. Inside the cabin, the glass turned the front end into a greenhouse. Without the dual AC units blasting non-stop, the summer heat could turn the RV into a rolling oven. Still, the windshield gave the Condor II its unmistakable personality, wide-eyed, expressive, and instantly recognizable in every frame of Christmas Vacation. It wasn't just a design choice, it was the RV's signature. Fact 7. The Christmas ornament, legacy. For most movie vehicles, merchandise comes first and nostalgia follows. But with Eddie's RV, the process reversed. The cultural impact of Christmas Vacation turned the rusty Condor II into an unlikely holiday icon. And soon, miniature replicas began appearing in living rooms across America, not as toys, but as Christmas ornaments. Companies produced detailed miniatures complete with faux rust, tiny wood panel stripes, and even the slanted window frames seen in the movie. Some versions lit up. Others played audio clips. A few high-end collectibles were crafted from metal and hand-painted to replicate the movie's weathered look. Families who grew up watching the film began hanging these ornaments on their trees, turning Eddie's chaotic RV into a cherished symbol of imperfect but beloved holiday memories. It's one of the strangest journeys a vehicle has ever taken, from a luxury motorhome to a Hollywood prop to a Christmas tree decoration treasured in thousands of homes. Fact 6. The birth of RV humor. Before Christmas Vacation, RV jokes were mild. Little quips about cramped bathrooms or bad gas mileage. But the moment Eddie's Condor II rumbled onto the screen, it reset the comedic template. Suddenly, the RV wasn't just a vehicle. It embodied every chaotic relative, every disastrous road trip, every uninvited holiday guest who arrives with more baggage than sense. Stand-up comedians referenced it. Sitcoms paid homage to it. Writers used it as shorthand. Mention an RV parked awkwardly in a driveway, and everyone instantly pictured Eddie in his bathrobe, holding a beer. This shift didn't happen overnight. It happened because the RV captured something deeply American, a blend of freedom, dysfunction, and humor, wrapped into one lumbering machine. Eddie didn't invent RV comedy, but his Condor II turned it into a cultural language. Fact 5. The invisible interior masterpiece. Blink and you'll miss it. Despite how iconic the RV is, audiences only get the briefest glimpses of its interior in Christmas Vacation. Yet what most viewers don't know is that the production team fully dressed the inside as if the camera were going to explore every inch of it. They recreated a 1970s motorhome down to the smallest detail. Dark wood paneling, mustard-toned upholstery, faux marble countertops, aging curtains, cluttered cupboards, and props that hinted at a family scraping by. Empty beer cans were placed with intention. Children's clothes were draped in ways that suggested weeks of living on the road. Even the lighting fixtures were period accurate. Most of this craftsmanship appears on screen for seconds, or not at all. But the interior mattered. It grounded Eddie's character. It made the RV feel lived in, real, worn, and desperate, even if the audience only sensed it subconsciously. It's a reminder that sometimes the best movie details are the ones we barely see. Fact 4. A nightmare to film with. On screen, Eddie's RV looks clumsy but manageable. Behind the scenes, it was a logistical beast, because the Condor II was technically built on a commercial truck chassis. Filming any scene where it moved required special permits, professional drivers, and hours of planning. Its turning radius was atrocious. Some suburban streets simply couldn't accommodate it, forcing the crew to reroute or even reinforce driveways before filming. Insurance requirements were so strict that only approved stunt drivers could handle certain maneuvers. Even parking the RV in front of the Griswold house required precise measurement. The weight could crack weaker pavement. Fueling it, transporting it, positioning it for lighting setups. Every step took longer, cost more, and caused more headaches than anyone expected. But in the end, the RV's awkwardness paid off. Its lumbering movements added a layer of physical comedy that no modern vehicle could match. The crew may have suffered, but the movie became funnier because of it. Fact 3. A pilgrimage vehicle. Most movie vehicles attract casual admiration. Eddie's RV attracts devotion. Whenever the Condor II appears at public events, something remarkable happens. People travel across states, sometimes across the entire country, just to see it in person. Not to see a sports car, not to see a legendary stunt vehicle, but to experience this worn-down, chaotic, oddly sentimental motorhome. Fans approach it as if greeting an old friend. They take photos, touch the metal, peer through the windows, and relive the holidays of their childhood. Some even get emotional, because the RV isn't just a prop. It represents messy family gatherings, imperfect traditions, and the kind of humor that makes the holidays bearable. Online forums track its appearance schedule. Social media posts featuring the RV regularly go viral. Security is sometimes needed, not because the RV is valuable in the traditional sense, but because people simply can't resist getting close. It may look like junk, but to generations of fans, it's a relic of joy worth traveling miles to revisit. Fact 2. The death by design issue. If the Condor II were introduced today, it wouldn't just fail modern safety tests. It wouldn't even be allowed onto the test track. This RV was built during an era when regulations were looser, expectations were lower, and engineering philosophy leaned heavily toward big equals safe. Unfortunately, size alone didn't protect anyone. The Condor II lacked crumple zones, relied on outdated braking systems, and had a center of gravity high enough to give modern inspectors nightmares. Seatbelts were minimal, often optional. Fire safety standards were primitive. Electrical systems were prone to overheating. And the fuel tank placement? Let's just say it wouldn't pass even the mildest federal requirement in 2024. Families once drove cross-country in vehicles like this without a second thought. Today, that idea borders on unthinkable. But that's also what makes Eddie's RV fascinating. It's a rolling time capsule of how different American road travel used to be. Unsafe by modern standards? Absolutely. But historically, it's a snapshot of an era when adventure mattered more than regulations. Fact 1. Worth more dead than alive. Here's the final twist, the one even longtime fans rarely consider. When the Condor II first rolled off the assembly line in the early 1970s, it sold for around $15,000 to $20,000. Adjusted for inflation, that places it near the price of a modern, mid-range motorhome. It was respectable, practical, and aimed squarely at middle-class families dreaming of the open road. But today, the original movie-used RV is worth several $100,000, far more than it ever commanded brand new. Not because it's rare, though it is. Not because it's luxurious, it isn't, but because value sometimes comes from stories, not specifications. The dents, the fake rust, the warped trim, the clumsy bulk, those imperfections became its identity. They turned the Condor II into something more powerful than a vehicle, a shared memory. A symbol of messy holidays, flawed families, and the kind of chaos audiences can laugh at because it reminds them of their own. No auction house has ever officially listed the Hero RV, but experts agree. If it were to cross the block, the bidding war would be unforgettable. It began life as a humble motorhome. Hollywood turned it into a treasure. Before we close this file on Eddie's infamous RV, here's a quick reminder. If you enjoy deep dives into forgotten movie vehicles and the unbelievable stories behind them, make sure to subscribe and tell us which fact shocked you the most. Your support helps us uncover the next hidden legend waiting on the backlot of Hollywood. Now, what does the Condor II really leave behind? It isn't just the story of a motorhome that survived bankruptcy, bad reviews, fake rust, impossible wait, and decades of neglect. It isn't even just a funny prop from a holiday comedy adored across generations. The real legacy of Eddie's RV is something far more human. It reminds us that things don't have to be perfect to be meaningful. That family gatherings can be messy, loud, and unpredictable, and still unforgettable. That sometimes the most iconic symbols come from the least polished corners of life. This RV, with its crooked trim and groaning V8, became a piece of American cultural memory, not because it was beautiful, but because it was honest. It captured the chaos, humor, and heartache of the holidays in a way no sleek sports car or pristine showpiece ever could. In the end, Eddie's Condor II stands as proof that legends aren't always born from perfection. Sometimes they roll in unannounced, leaking, rattling, and shouting, "Merry Christmas" from the curb.